Hi, I'm Stefan, the BMW DIY guy, and do you want to change and improve the intakes on your new G87? I'll show you how. All right, y'all, let's talk about this project a little bit and the reasons why you're going to want to do this on your car. Now, this is the brand new BMW G87 M2. Now, it has an advantage unlike other new models, and this really is a new model, that it shares a lot of the components, including the engine of a number of other BMW models. So a lot of the developed products that are out there, for example, the X3M or the new G80 M3 or the M4, all fit on this car, which is just awesome. We don't have to wait for that development cycle. So talking with Kies Motorsports, I said, hey, you know, what intakes should I throw in my car if I wanted to change them? Yeah, we're going to put on the new MST conical intakes into this car. They can increase your performance just a little bit. They change the sound of your car just a little bit, and the install isn't hard at all. Let me walk you through the whole process, and we're going to start under the hood. Okay, y'all, so here we are underneath the hood, and we're going to want to remove our strut brace to make this whole process a little bit easier. So we're talking about this strut brace here and the front V. We don't need to take the back off. And this is where you get a little bit of the differences in the G87 or M2 rather than the G80s or G82s. So we've got this cover over the top of the brace itself. So you've got these little expanding plastic rivets. That's where you want to take a plastic trim tool and pull up the center pin, and then you can pull 1, 2, and 3 and pull these out. I'm going to show you what it looks like on the other side when it's up. But you pull those 3. Now you've got this connector right here that comes underneath. You're going to unlock your cover, and there's a cover also on the other side. But you can see this side has the hose on it. So you're going to pull the hose free as we do this here, just like that. Okay, so then this hose will then slip out, and the hose will slip off, and then the cover will come off. But this cover itself is, you can also see, is pinned down by this cable right here. There's a cable that comes up and connects right here to the top of your strut tower with your electronically controlled dampers, right? So what I find, instead of unplugging all of that, when you pull all of these, you can kind of tip the cover up and tip it back up and out of the way like it is over on this side, as you can see. I didn't bother to unplug the damper. I don't see a reason to do that. If I could just tip the cover up and out of the way, that'll make it a lot simpler and remove a step, right? So once that's done, you've got a 13mm bolt here in the front, and you've got 15mm nuts, 2 of them on each side. So go ahead and take those off, take your center strut off, and set it aside. All right, so now that the brace is off, and you know, you might be able to do it with the brace still on, but I don't see any reason in fighting it like that. Okay, so the next thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and take out these plastic rivets. There's one right here and one right here. Use a plastic trim tool to pull those up and out. And then if you look down, you should see a silver clip right down there on the bottom. And there's another one on this one as well. But you're going to want to take like a hook of like a hooked pick tool or something similar. Grab onto that horseshoe collar, that silver horseshoe collar, and pull it off. All right, so as we take this front intake out, I wanted to show one more thing. So the cross brace right here, which is 2 more 15mm nuts on both sides, 1, 2, 1, 2. So it holds down your engine vanity cover. As you can tell, that cross brace is off, so I've just go ahead and pulled that off. And I've pulled the vanity cover off, and I've set it back a little bit. So, you know, with the G87, we are dealing with a tighter engine bay than the G80s and G82s. There's less space. So what I find in this case, and you can tell I've taken the airbox off by loosening the hose clamp right here, but as you can see, it's really, really tight. So I wanted to show a couple of things just as hints for the G87 owners. Now, you could use the same guide for the G80s, but what I find is pulling this pipe up, you're hitting the edge of your vanity cover. Now, it is possible you could maybe squeeze it by, but these little metal flanges are doing a good job in holding the pipe down and really getting in its way, as is the vanity cover. So I've just taken that off, so I've taken the cross brace off so I can shift the vanity cover back, pulled it up and off so I can get more room here for the pipe. Now, one other thing that I wanted to show, and I haven't done it, but it's really close. See the metal clip? That is about 3/4 loose. So if I wasn't careful, I bet it would be really easy for me to pull this up and pull that clip up and off and drop it down into the engine bay, which would be a huge bummer, right? So as you pull this up and out, be really careful. So I'm sliding my left hand down on this side. I'm holding that clip as I pull this up and out to get it clear. Okay, so go ahead and get that pipe out, and then we're going to put in the new heat shield on this side. All right, so next steps are with your two heat shields, and you can tell which side is which because the writing will be up, which is kind of nice. You can tell which one's right, left. Also, the paper wrapping, all this came in, was also marked right, left. Now, what you're gonna wanna do is, you can see I've already got them installed. There are these silver little connections that are going to go down into the rubber grommets here on each side where the OEM airbox used to go in. So you want the ridged side down. Go ahead and use one of the bolts, one of the big silver bolts with a washer. And then I'm going to rough fit this right now, but you can see where this will fit down in, and those two little fingers on each side are going to fit into those grommets, okay? I'm doing this kind of one-handed right at the moment, but this will all fit down here into place, and will fit down into those grommets like that. So go ahead and get both of those posts on both sets of the heat shields and get them set down into place. And then there's some extra brackets that we're gonna add here and here once they're in place, but I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so now that you have the heat shields down into place, and now with those rubber feet going into the grommets, I kept the bolts a little bit loose, so if I had to slide that post kind of in and out a little bit to get the right fitment, so it fit down in those rubber grommets, it's nice, and then you can always tighten it down a little bit later. Now, we're gonna be attaching these plates. Now, there really is, when you look at it, there's only one way for the plate to go, because the other plate won't fit. The flange goes the wrong direction. But this is gonna go underneath right here, into these two holes on this side. So you have these little black screws that you're gonna put through on this side, and then it's gonna come underneath. Now, it's a little bit hard to show, but there's a box right here in your upper suspension. There's a hole in it right here. You're gonna use one of those big silver bolts and a nut and connect this plate down through that hole and do the same on the other side. So let me get both of these on, and then I'll show you what that looks like. But it really is just taking this, securing it in place, through to this plate. There you go. I can just kind of partially do one right now just to show you as we go through this. So there's one. It's still a little bit loose to give you a little bit of wiggle room. Make sure it did not drop these because that'd be no fun trying to track down one of these. So I'm very careful not to drop these little bolts or these little screws, metal screws, right? So okay, so there's both. They're both reasonably tight right now, and then you can kind of maneuver it and maneuver the plate, so you can see where the plate now, the hole with the plate is now lined up here through this hole in the bracket. So now I'm going to get one of those big silver bolts, drop it in with one of the nuts, and secure it here. Okay, I'll show you what that looks like, and you're going to want to do the same on the other side. All right, so I want to show you a trick here really quickly. So it's all in and tight at it, but I wanted to show you what I did on how to get here. So with one hand, I held the plate. So I've got these two little screws in, holding the plate on. And then with one hand, I held the plate to get it lined up with the hole in the frame here. Then I've got a magnetic screwdriver that could hold onto the bolt, and I tipped it in and pushed it down in so it's down through the hole in the frame and down through the hole in the plate. I then took the 10mm nut on my fingertips, very carefully reached underneath and put it up against the bolt, and then very carefully screwed it on so I wouldn't drop the nut, right? Because that would suck. So it's 10mm, so then I've got a 10mm wrench, and I just put the 10mm wrench underneath to hold it in place, and then just tightened it down. And you can use a socket, a 10mm socket, or a screwdriver, because the bolts have a screw head pattern in the top. Okay, so once that's all done, it's in and tight. Okay, so good to go there. Okay, so now that those brackets are on, we're going to want to remove the clip and the factory O-ring from both sides of the OEM pipe. Now, your clip is on these little fingers. You can kind of work it and slide it out of those fingers to get it loose. Another reason not to drop this. Okay, and then very gently, you can work and get the O-ring out. If you have to, you can also use a little plastic trim tool, or you can always use a pick tool. If you do use a metal pick tool, be really careful when you do it. I tend to prefer to use my fingers if I can. That way I can get it out without potentially damaging it, okay? So you want to take this and transfer this to the exact same positions on the new pipes. I'll show you what that looks like. All right, y'all, so a couple of things here really quick. So now we're gonna fit the intake pipe in. Now, the one thing that you can also do is you have a sensor clip right here, which if this is getting in your way and if you have a hard time fitting into this space, you can temporarily pull off this clip. There's little depression tabs on both sides. You're just gonna depress that, and you can take it and you can pull it out of the way, which will help you get just a little bit more room as you get down into this space. Be careful with all your extra hoses and feed lines that come up as you put this in. And then also be careful of these metal tabs, because I mean, this pipe looks great. You don't want to scuff it up and make it look bad as you put it on. Lastly, you've got your clip here at the end to make sure that it's not in a locked position like it is right now, right? Because that'll not allow the pipe to go on. So I'm just going to have it out where the fingers are out just a little bit, and it's loose. So as I press it onto the turbo or the turbo intake, then I can clip it down into place. Okay, so you just take this, feed it down in really nicely. Try not to bang it up. Feed it into the hole in the heat shield and fit it down under your turbo intake right there, just like that. Okay, so I'm gonna show you the other side here in just a second, but it's gonna be the exact same thing. All right, so both pipes are in place. One thing I always do to make sure that these clips are seated really well is once I have them in place, I'll pull on them, make sure that they don't move, that it has a good grip on the intakes. This one as well. My flashlight's in the way right now, sorry. But that one as well. So you know that they're down and they're seated. Those clips are in good places. Okay, so that's all good to go. So now we're just gonna put the intakes on. I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so now you just want to fit the air filter in place. They're the same on both sides, and you have a hose clamp that comes with it. I usually want to make sure that I position the hose clamp in a place where I can get to it really easily with a tool here in just a second. So you're just going to take it and just fit it into place. Make sure to get it over the flange on the pipe itself. Now you've also have this rubber grommet on this side, so make sure that you're not beating that rubber grommet up too badly as you get this into place. Then what you can do is you can just turn your hose clamp, and I'm going to put it, hopefully you can see it, it's right here. I'm going to put it in a place where I can get to a screwdriver to it really easily right there without any problems, right? It'll be just a nice down angle, but you just want to make sure that it's in and over the top of that flange and your hose clamp as well. So you're going to have to just take a little bit of wiggling and fitting to get it in, because this rubber grommet here is really nice to help hold all this in place and keep it from rubbing or making any noise. But you just want to make sure that your hose clamp isn't sitting funny or you've got a leak anywhere. So just get this hose clamp in on straight and then tighten it down. Go ahead and do the other side. I'll show you what that looks like. But at that point, as far as the install, we're done. Then we're just going to do is we're going to put our cross brace back on, and that's really straightforward, so I'll walk you through it. All right, so the filters are on, so obviously that side's done. This side's done. This side is really tight, and clearances are extremely tight. So what I found is actually if I loosened this bolt and I loosened the bolts in those feet a little bit to give the heat shield a little bit of wiggle room as I got this down into place, because basically you have to take the filter and get it down and around the end of the intake here. It absolutely is on and it's secure. It's just clearances are very, very tight. So once I had it dip back down into place, I went ahead and tightened up all of those. So all good to go there. All right, so go ahead and put your crossbars back on. So put your cover back into place. If you did unplug this sensor, like I did, make sure to plug that back into place. There's a good click there as it goes back in. Okay, so put your vanity cover back in. It's on little rubber grommets, so you just pull it forward and push it down onto its feet. Put the crossbar back in with those 15s on each side. I'll have the torque values for those nuts in the video description, so make sure to check that out. Put your front cross on, same thing, 15s. The 13 here in the front and the 15s down there at that end. And you put all the rest of your plastics back on and you're done. So pretty straightforward. And then, you know, now that you're at this point, you can actually take the little protective plastic off. Yeah, looks good, looks good. All right, guys, so go ahead and put it all back together. Good job, you're all done. All right, y'all, all done. As you can tell, this isn't a hard install and will only take just a few simple tools and a little bit of time to get this work done yourself. Definitely encourage you to do so. Thank you so much to Kies Motorsports. They are absolutely fantastic and a great place to get any parts that you need for your car, so make sure to check them out. And I really love having these MST intakes in my car, and I can't wait to take it out for a drive. Really appreciate you watching. Please make sure to click like and subscribe. It makes an honest difference to my channel, and I would really appreciate it if you did so. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on my next project.